Hello, everybody. Welcome back once again. I've got another Brigandine, the Legend of Runersia video for you. So this time we're talking female Rune Knights. And in my opinion, the females make the better casters between, male and female. And I say that because the females get, their witch class is able to cast Meteor Doom, which I still think is, one of the most powerful, if not the most powerful, abilities in the game. It does feel. I will be honest. It does feel a little bit weaker than in, Brigandine, the Legend of Forsenna, or the Grand Edition versions of the game, but. I say of the game, but those are separate games. But again, this is kind of like kind of a sequel, kind of, sort of, to those games. So, anyways, I always and since I've played the old ones so much, I compare those two to this one. But again, I would say that Meteor Doom, while it is extremely powerful, it does feel less so than the other games. So anyways, all right, let's start up at the top here. So Lancer is the the tank, I guess you could say, of the female classes. Unlike the male classes, there isn't the sort of class splits that the fighter has, right? Because you can go fighter, knight. And then Knight even, has to choose between Paladin and Dark Knight. But there's nothing like that for the female classes. It's pretty much just a single path, and you're done. Literally with actually all of their classes. So nothing too much to talk about in that regard. But I do think that. The female classes are pretty interesting. So let's take a look at least at Lancer, and whoops, I keep of course hitting the wrong button. But all right, so the base Lancer gets for abilities Brave, Thrust, Nimble, Slice. I like that Nimble Slice never misses. That's kind of an interesting aspect. Although I don't think that you can use this after you move, though also not as big of an issue just because of the way I play. Again, I generally let monsters and the enemies come to me, and don't rush them. Right, I wait for them to kind of get to my front line, and then I go out, or I should say I respond to them. They do get Venom. God, is this right? This doesn't seem right. Venom. Hang on. I'm gonna swap over to a different character because I feel like that's not right. I just don't know what I've learned with some of these characters. If I find somebody that's a little bit lower as far as level goes, I don't know if I may have actually just leveled everybody. Yeah, you know what? Let's I may have leveled a bunch of these characters too much. So now I can't see their base. Okay, let's see about Sylvie. Sylvie might be, yeah, she's probably low enough to get a good idea. Yeah, that's what I thought. Lancer doesn't have any spells. That is what I thought. Okay, but they do have, counter damage B. Actually, they don't have accuracy. They have counter damage. That's what they get. So, interesting because... is it the Berserker that gets counter damage? Yes. So they basically, gave Lancer that ability instead of, so like the fighter, for instance, gets, HP recovery. Whereas, yeah, Lancer does not get that. Lancer gets the counter damage, which again is basically the same as the Berserker. Classes. So when they level to Temple Knight, though, they do get parry B. So 15% chance of parrying normal attacks and skills from a single enemy. I don't know. Let's take a look at how that compares to shield block, because I'm just curious now. So that should be, yeah, Knight gets the first version of shield. Yeah, shield block is actually even better. Yeah, that's about what I thought. So even the tier 2 Lancer still isn't, as defensive, I guess I would say, or doesn't have the same defensive capability that the Knight classes do. So yeah, parry B 15%. So yeah, 5% less chance of yeah, I guess kind of, again, it seems like activating like a shield block. And then you'll end at parry A, which there you have it. It's actually on par with the level 10, a Knight class. So again, I would say even, I mean, maybe it's obvious because of these classes don't have the same defensive capability that the males do. Now, one thing that's very interesting, though, here about the Royal Guards is they are immune to silence. I think that's very, very interesting, and also obviously they have the counter damage, and the counter damage will transfer over if you decide to dual class these characters. I wouldn't recommend that. I think that if you do anything with Lancer, you want to end as a Royal Guard, and because of, I mean, for one thing, silence, but also parry, right? So again, that's your choice, but I like to, and I know this is very strange, but I think I mentioned this with my male character builds too. I actually think that Lancer synergizes at least somewhat well with the Enchantress. So basically, what you can do here is, do let's just say 5 levels of Lancer, or actually, I would actually prefer to do the first 5 levels as Enchanter and get those spells. You want to get Frost, really Frost. Charm and Flight are junk, but you want to get Frost, and then transfer over or class change over to Lancer if you can. Now, that said, these requirements also can be prohibitive to certain characters because their stats may not be high enough. And if that's the case, then you'll need to use strength boosting, items, for instance. Or I guess the flip side of that would be, potentially intelligence items as well, just so that you can meet those requirements for these classes. Again, that's another one of the twists that make this combination not super realistic. Again, I still like to, if I can, do that, but because of the base requirements are difficult for some characters specifically to meet, it may not be an option for you, but there's ways around that. You can get creative and send your knights out onto quests in order to get those stat boosting items, and so that you'll be able to do this. But anyways, and also, so why do I think that these two classes, which are seemingly very opposed, why do I think they work well together? Well, if you go all the way up to Witch, let's just say, for example, that you hit level 20 and you're a Witch, right? You do 5 levels of Witch, and that gets you Meteor Doom, Curse, Frost, Charm, Flight, Chain of Frost. The big one is Meteor Doom. And then you transfer back over to Lancer, and hopefully by that point you've already taken care of Lancer and Temple Knight, and you can do Royal Guard. Well, that means that as a Royal Guard, you'll be able to cast Meteor Doom. And why I think that's important is because Meteor Doom, you basically have to be on the front lines, or you will hit your own allies because you can't, because of the cast range. You basically have to be on the front lines, or you're going to end up hitting your own characters with Meteor Doom. So that's, again, why I think that these two classes synergize so well together. And then, again, on top of that, Royal Guard has silence immunity. And so you don't have to worry about getting silenced and not being able to cast Meteor Doom. So, again, interesting combo. the you know the problem with this is that not only is it going to be difficult for certain characters because of their statistics, also by leveling as Lancer, Temple Knight, Royal Guard, you're actually going to lose a bit of MP growth and intelligence growth. So at the end of the game, yes, you will likely be able to cast Meteor Doom at least once, but it's also not going to hit as hard as if you were an Enchantress. And you're probably not going to end up with as much MP at the end of the game had you focused entirely on the more I guess the caster classes, that being Saint here or Witch. So I guess just keep that in mind. I think that some of that stuff can be overcome, but frontline a frontline Witch casting Meteor Doom is a little scary. If you notice here, their defense is only 90. That is not good for a frontliner, whereas your defense is 140 for a Royal Guard. So again, up to you. I think that those two classes are an interesting combo. That maybe it's not something that's super obvious right away, but very, very interesting combo. Anyways, let's move on finally to Hunter. Hunters are great for they're just great. Honestly, they're just great. Not only do they get accuracy, which is I think their strongest the strongest aspect of their class. They also do get the Dominate Sky, but accuracy at least will transfer over to your other classes, so you can level sniper or whatever, take accuracy, and then you can let's say just say you want to end up as a Royal Guard. Well, that way you'll be a Royal Guard with accuracy, right? So that's an option. But Hunter is a great, obviously way more geared toward these physical classes. Lancer, Hunter, Dancer are the three big physical classes. And so, again, even if you want to go Lancer, I think the accuracy is at least somewhat important. The only thing that I would say about Lancer and why it may not be quite as needed is Royal Guard gets Grand Wave, which I would argue is probably the best ability for the Royal Guard, but this doesn't miss anyway. And then the 20% chance of inflicting paralyze, which I think is. I think it's fair to say that it's the best status effect in the game, and so Royal Guards with Grand Wave are amazing. I wish I actually should have brought this up a little bit earlier, but I mean also even here, Killer Slice never misses. Though I don't really like this skill anyway because this is an AOE around them. But yeah. So anyways, maybe less important for Hunter or for like Lancer to have leveled as a Hunter, but. That said, even a counter attack is still important. You want to be able to at least hit things. So I do think that the Hunter is a great class. Next up is the Bard. Bards are definitely they strike me as a buffer and not really. You're not going to get a whole lot out of them offensively speaking, at least for them. And honestly, I think that that's a bit of a problem. At least I see that as a bit of a problem because I want to be dealing damage as my Rune Knights. I don't want to be necessarily buffing up other classes because it's just important to level your Rune Knights. And if you're just buffing and throwing out, weak buffs around, you're just not going to level fast. You want to be getting kill shots with these. And so... at least here, once you get to Minstrel, you'll get Thunder, and you can snipe, enemies with Thunder. So, eventually you'll be able to at least do that. One of the good synergies, though, with the Bard is actually the Enchantress, and because of Frost, right? So you can take your first 5 levels as Enchantress, then go over to Bard, and then still be able to cast Frost, as a Bard, and still... be able to at least level somewhat. The other thing with that, though, is, you can kind of get around that also with just sending your knights out on to do the training grounds and just leveling via training ground. And so then it's less important for you to have like an attack spell, right, for your bard, because you're just leveling via quests. So at least there's that, and then once you get to Minstrel, again, then you're into Thunder, and you should be fine. Minstrel and Troubadour do not have any sort of abilities that transfer over other than magic spells. And so, you're not going to get any accuracy out of them, no counter damage, nothing fun like that. And so if you're going to be cross-classing these, you're really going to be looking at cross-classing casters, in my opinion. So they do get Geno Thunder, which is interesting. And then you've got mana transfer here. Restores 150 to a single ally unit within a 3-hex radius. That's fantastic. The only problem, though, is, again, and I'll just say it's the same problem that I just generally see for the Rune Knights, is I don't want to be giving away my mana. I want to be nuking enemies and killing them off to get experience. Because, again, it's just important for Rune Knights to be leveling and constantly getting more rune power so that we can, keep upgrading our monsters. So I just don't love the Troubadour class. So they also have, okay, so Heavy Swing, who cares? That's a melee attack. Brave Scream, though, increases attack, defense, and agility of a single ally unit within 2x. That's great. But again, this costs a lot of mana, and again, we're using our mana then on buffing up other classes instead of actually dealing damage and leveling. So I don't like that. And here, Curse Song, Poison and Silence. Again, I don't care about really those two. Silence is better, but Poison is pretty junk for status effects. Oratorial Watch grants an extra action to one ally unit within a 2-hex. I mean, this is basically like the Gremlins react ability. I'm sure there's other classes that have that as well, but same rationale. I just have to reiterate that using our mana on other characters is we're going to level slow when we do that, and so I don't want to do that. And so that said, I don't like Troubadour. I think that it is not a good class. I don't cross-class this unless I absolutely have to, and I basically have no other option. I just don't think it's good, and for those reasons that I stated. All right, so let's move on to Dancer. Dancer, on the other hand, is amazing, and mostly because they get evasion. So that's their big deal. Very, very important for really anybody to get evasion, but especially a Dancer, because you're likely going to be running around in melee. They also do have double movement, though, so it's kind of one of those deals where you can do the hit and run style tactics where you run over to the enemy, hit them and then run back. And so at least they've got that going for them as well, but the evasion also does really help out. They also do have the crit rate up S, which is fantastic. I just the crappy thing about these guys is that you have to stay a Dancer in order to keep that crit rate, which is a shame. I just wish that the game worked a little bit differently with these kind of passive abilities. Critical rate up S would have been phenomenal on a hunter. I would have preferred that, because then you'd have the dominate sky, the accuracy, you'd get the evasion out of the Dancer and the crit damage. But they didn't want to do that. So unfortunately, if you want to keep that crit damage, you have to stay an assassin. To be fair, though, assassins are great. They do have some very, very strong abilities. Fatal Darkness is massive. Massive damage to a single adjacent enemy unit, and crit rate is increased. So not only does your crit rate increase from that, but you also have the crit rate up from their passive. And so your crit rate's going to be very, very high with Fatal Darkness, and it is very, very strong. So that can be absolutely brutal. Bewitching Step is also kind of interesting here, where it's got a 30% chance of inflicting either poison, paralyze, silence, faint, petrify, or charm. Now, That's cool if you don't have any other option and you just want to clip, something either coming in to your front line or whatever. You can't, get to an enemy or something like that, and so you've got no other option. This is okay. The reason why I just say it's okay is because you've got for one thing, you've got a 30% chance, which is actually pretty decent, but it's basically a random status effect that you land on it, so it's hard to really count on this, and I don't love that aspect of it. But again, Assassin is great. I think that it's a phenomenal class, especially if you're going to be going. I should say, yeah, it's really, really great if you're going to be on the front lines. But even that said, it's okay, even if you're not, right, just because of that evasion. And so I think they're fantastic. Enchanter, I've already talked about, but I think the Witch is the best casting class in the game, offensively speaking, I guess I should say, and because of Meteor Doom. The problem though is the usability of it. So again, if you just do like a dual class Enchantress Cleric, and you're gonna not be able to really survive on the front lines really well because these don't survive well on the front lines, or you're gonna be in the back lines, and if you still want to cast Meteor Doom, unfortunately you're gonna clip your own allies if you're not set up correctly, which it's just tough to do. It's tough to set up and not clip your own allies with Meteor Doom if you're not on the front line. So that is my take on Witch. These two classes synergize at least somewhat well together, right? You can do Enchantress, Cleric, and keep really, really good MP and intelligence growth. And then obviously you'd have all of the utility, I suppose, of being able to heal or deal, really, really good damage. So up to you. I don't really love doing that. I used to, and especially in Legend of Forsenna, I basically always dual classed healer, Enchantress. But I've kind of got away from that, and mostly because I think Enchantress synergizes at least somewhat interestingly with Lancer. So that is my take on that. Cleric, these are, I mean, they're fantastic. Area heal is very, very powerful. Veil here, cure, halo. But I think Divine Ray is one of the better abilities from Saint. But I don't know. I just with Saint, and I've been over this or brought this up a couple of times, is that I want to be dealing damage with my Rune Knights, and at least with the healer class, you do have Divine Ray, and so you can snipe some of the enemies that get a little bit too close with this. But the rest of the stuff like area heal, cure, hail, like I don't want my Rune Knights healing if I can avoid it. I want my monsters to be doing that so that I can kill stuff with my Rune Knights, and so. I don't really like the Rune Knights as healers, and so I try to avoid that now. I go again. I like the Enchantress Lancer combo just because I think it's somewhat interesting. You do end up with again, to be fair, lower MP growth and intelligence growth at the end of the route, but being able to cast again Meteor Doom on the front lines is fun, and just. You're not going to be clipping your own character. So that is my take on the female Rune Knights. Again, I think that they're very much more geared towards casting, and again, I think that it's at least worth trying the Lancer Enchantress combo. So that is all I've got for this one. As always, hope the guide was helpful, and hope you join me for more videos. Thanks for watching.